Continuing our theme of questions you should ask before you say yes to an interview. There are some in this magnificent checklist in the resources pack, where if you were to say to me, you know what, I don't actually need to know that. It won't affect my headspace to not have that information. I would say that's fine, that's your call. But one of these questions is a red line for me. It is non-negotiable. It's the Grandad, the Taylor Swift, the Serena Williams, the Simon Rattle of pre-interview questions, and you simply have to ask it.
Year of the Expert.
Hi, it's Chris from Inside Edge, and this is part 3,
Chapter 5
of Year of the Expert in glorious vision as well as audio because, well, why not? Part 3 is all about preparation. As you know, last week we talked about the blurring of lines between media formats. This week, the most important question you need to ask, and you can probably guess what it is it a one-to-one or are other guests expected? Now, why this question matters is that this factor above any other has the power to totally reframe an interview. Presenters approach them differently, producers treat them differently, the audience consume them differently. If other guests are expected, and BBC producers at the very least are editorially obliged to tell you that they are, then it's absolutely legitimate for you to ask, who am I on with? And I'm not saying don't do panels or discussions that can be fabulous. For instance, you're an expert in palliative care. Your research reveals failings in the current system. I'd naturally, as a producer, look for a family member of someone who can be a testament to those failings to come on with you. And as I said earlier, that reframes the interview, but not necessarily in a bad way, quite the opposite. For instance, you're an expert in the history of protest, and there's a large-scale march through the streets of London scheduled for that weekend. So the TV news panel is with an expert in policing, an expert perhaps in the issue itself, and then you for the historical context. Everyone can stay in their lanes. Again, it reframes the interview, but not necessarily in a bad way. But then, let's say you're an expert in heat pumps and you've done research as to their value in our progression to a carbon neutral future. And you're asked to come on with an academic that thinks the progression to a carbon neutral future is best achieved through some other means. Plus a politician who thinks the progression to a carbon neutral future is something we shouldn't prioritise at all. Totally reframed, and again, not necessarily in a bad way. You might relish the conflict that sits at the heart of that. Bring it on, we need to have this debate. But alternatively, you might think that is not an environment I feel comfortable in, or an environment where I can effectively get a message across. A, these voices disagree with me, but they are measured and rational. B, these voices disagree with me, but they are strident and they are unnuanced. To me, A sounds okay, B absolutely doesn't. Pick your battles carefully, consult with comms, but above all, ask the question every time you engage with the programme. Till next time.